One of the biggest challenges that I hear people talk about when they think, I need to hire a virtual assistant is, I really don't know what to expect. And that's perfectly natural. It's perfectly normal not to know what you're getting yourself into if you've never really hired or trained or managed somebody in any of the things that you've done with your career life. So, today I'm here to tell you what to expect when working with a virtual assistant. So the first thing you might be wondering is whether or not a virtual assistant is actually an employee, or are they a freelancer? What's this whole 1099 contractor thing? I don't get any of this, right? Fortunately, I have a great article on the blog that talks about how to distinguish whether somebody's a contractor or an employee. But to be honest, I really recommend that you talk to an accountant, because they're the ones that are going to really know, and they're going to be able to help you determine, based on what your expectations of this individual are, whether or not they really are an employee. Doesn't mean that they have to be in-house. Employees are not always in-house. You've heard of this whole remote working thing. So employees can be all over the country and even all over the world, and that's not the only thing that determines whether or not they are a contractor or an employee. So make sure you talk to your accountant about that. So you might also be wondering, what are some of the limitations that you can expect or that you should expect when working with a virtual assistant? First of all, unlike an employee, a virtual assistant or a freelancer generally is going to have other clients. They're going to have other people that they're also doing work for. The good thing about this means that you don't have to hire them full time and be able to provide them enough of a livable wage on just your work alone. They can go out and get other work from other individuals to help supplement the hours that you're giving to them. The flip side of that means that if you need something done today, they might be working on another client's project or have another emergency that they're having to deal with, and they can't necessarily drop everything to be available to you. You also need to know that hiring a VA is a lot like hiring an employee, in that it may take a while to find the right fit. Not all VAs are going to be a fit out of the box. Some of them are going to be skilled in certain areas. You may have certain expectations. Communication styles may be different. So, there's an adage that goes, hire slow, fire fast. And the idea here is take your time to find the right person, but if you found somebody and it turns out that they're not the right person, go ahead and let them go as quickly as possible. It'll be the best overall scenario for you and for them. So don't be afraid to say this is not working out, and go ahead and let them go. But it'll take time. It'll take time to find the right person if you don't have somebody sourcing those individuals for you. The other thing is, this isn't going to be plug and play. So you can't expect a virtual assistant to jump into your business, into your world, and instantly know everything that's going on with your business. Now, they're going to have some expertise in some of the tools that you use, or some of the general kind of concepts and procedures. But having done this for a while now, every client has a certain set of expectations on how things are done. Some are going to absolutely nitpick the details, while others are going to be like, hey, it's good enough, I'm going to let that go. So really be aware that there's going to be some time getting your new virtual assistant onboarded and understanding what your expectations are. And if you tend to be the kind of person that's not very patient, this is going to be one of those steps that's really going to try that patience for you. But I promise it is well worth it. Now, this is a big one. Virtual assistants are not Jack or Jills of all trades. So they are probably good generalists over a lot of different things, but that doesn't mean you should use them for everything. I see a lot of business owners making the mistakes that They hire one virtual assistant and they expect them to do everything from booking their travel to bookkeeping to creative writing to working on spreadsheets. And the mindset's just like you're not good at all of those things, they're probably not good at all of those things either, especially if you're finding somebody that's not like highly rated, high price range kind of thing. They're just not going to be good at all of those things. It's better to hire multiple virtual assistants that specialize in certain areas that you can bring on board for smaller amounts of hours than to expect one virtual assistant to do all of those different things. A virtual assistant is not a business manager and they are not a business consultant. I see this mistake many, many times when a business owner, a coach, or a consultant will come in and they expect their virtual assistant to be able to advise them. Hey, you're doing my newsletter. Can you let me know what the best options for newsletter management are? That's not what a virtual assistant is supposed to do. A virtual assistant is supposed to do the tasks that you assign to them. A business manager or a business consultant can help you determine what the best email types to send are, when to send them, how to send them, those kind of things. A business manager is going to be able to project manage all of your different freelancers. A business manager is going to be able to help you assemble an entire website or online webinar, seminar kind of presentation. These are things that you can expect of an online business manager. But a virtual assistant really is going to be that doer, not the one that's going to be thinking of the big picture and helping you to problem solve all of those different variables. So let's talk about how we can get the best, the most optimum type of result from the virtual assistants that we're working with. The first tip that I have for you is to really communicate clearly. Now, I know this one's going to be a little bit challenging, and as you build up that relationship with your virtual assistant, it'll get easier for you. But sending an email to your virtual assistant that says, hey, can you send out an email today that talks about that video that we did on Thursday? Okay, but what do you want in the email? How do you want it worded? Who do you want it to go out to? When do you want it scheduled to go out? A virtual assistant is going to need all of those details. So the more specific you can get, especially in those early stages until the virtual assistant begins to actually kind of sort of read your mind, and a lot of them will get there, trust me. But once you first start with them, you need to spell out those details. Otherwise, you're going back and forth, spending time communicating with them, helping them to understand exactly what it was that you needed, when all of that could be spelled out in detail in your first message. So take that time to communicate clearly with them. And another piece of that is be willing to get on the phone with them or a Zoom call or something like that, so that you're able to answer questions directly and on the spot rather than spending that time going back and forth via email. Remember to give as much detail as possible up front, and this includes usernames and passwords where appropriate. So a lot of times you're going to say, hey, can you do this for me, or can you do that for me? And they're going to be stifled because they don't have access to the resources that they need. So the more you give them up front, the less you have to go back and forth with them to get those details. Make sure that you review the information and then provide feedback. You know, the feedback it could be something like, great job, or I love where you did this, or it might even be, this needs tweaking. The idea here is to give both constructive feedback, but also praise and encouragement when they do something well. But the way that they learn, let's say you have them write an article for you, and you read the article and then you make a whole bunch of changes, but you don't tell them, and then you send them another article. Here's an example. I had a writer for a while that kept referring to business and the HR department and things like that, and that doesn't fit with what I do. initially I'd go in and I'd just kind of edit it and fix it and not tell her. And finally I'm like, wait a minute, this keeps happening. I need to take the time to let her know I don't work with people that have HR departments. I don't work with people that have brick and mortar businesses. So when you're writing these articles, make sure that you reference the kind of audience that I'm speaking to and that I'm working with. So those are the kind of things that when you're making those changes, make sure you let them know what those changes are and why you made those changes so that they can learn from that process. I'm a big fan of Sandra Yancey from eWomen Network, and she is fond of saying, delegate, don't abdicate. And I love this idea. So we want to avoid being micromanagers, but at the same time, we want to also make sure that we're not just leaving people to their own devices and coming back after the project's totally supposed to be done and blowing up because nothing happened, right? It's important to give over the project or task, but also to make sure that you have checkpoints, that you know what's supposed to be progressing and when it's supposed to be progressing. Have them send you reports, have them do check-ins with you to let you know what's going on. And if you don't get that check-in, make sure that you're going back and following up. The number of times that I've had somebody try and release a website in a certain time frame and the person disappeared, but they didn't discover until well after that time frame because they weren't kind of communicating back and forth. So just know that you need to have those checkpoints and check-ins and follow up when you're not hearing from the individuals. So let's wrap this up. It's important to take your time to find and hire and train well when you're working with a virtual assistant. You can feasibly save anywhere from 5 to 30 hours or even more per month when you have a well-trained virtual assistant. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time and energy, but knowing what to expect will help you to be better prepared. And as always, if you're looking for more information about how to delegate better, the Ultimate Guide to Delegate is the total package solution for you, and you can get it for free at virtualateam.com/delegate. And check out some of these other videos that I know you're gonna love. I gotta sneeze. Hold on. It's coming. Hey!